Today I will read to you from the Alkistis Method book entitled Fear to Freedom. I will read to you from section 3, the philosophical foundations of the Alkistis Method. If we were to travel back in time at the beginning of the 6th century BCE, we would observe that people's general belief was that happiness and flourishing is something to be experienced after death. The world was full of mysticism and superstitions, and so human fate and happiness was believed to be largely controlled by the whims of the gods and spirits, with required rituals and sacrifices. The governing regimes were usually oppressive, dogmatic theocracies and military regimes which terrorized the people into slavery and submission. Ancient people took these types of oppressive regimes as a given. This was the norm. From birth, ordinary people were programmed into believing that life on earth was all about suffering and serving the great king or leader, and that happiness would only come later, after death, if they behaved and bowed to their oppressive rulers, of course. When Plato founded his academy in Athens, he based its program on the methods of his teacher Socrates and his famous Socratic method, also called dialectic. What is dialectic? It is a series of questions fired in quick succession that were designated not to impose, but to lead the student towards the truth, the calculating the steps of deductive reasoning. The Greek philosophers believed that we can and have every right to pursue our happiness here in this world, while we are still alive, and it doesn't depend on the gods, but on ourselves. As Aristotle taught, happiness depends on ourselves. Although to us today these ideas may seem obvious, this was a radical paradigm shift at the time. The classical Greek philosophers dared to question the old world views of superstition and magic. The classical Greek philosophers said that if there is a God, it is nearest to what we today would call a pantheistic God, which they referred to as physis, which means nature in Greek. The unceasing change of the universe is driven by the logos, a Greek word meaning reason or logic, which has set certain laws in motion, like, for example, the law of gravity. The Greek philosophers thought something like this: the Logos has set in motion the universal laws. It is not a personal God. Nature is not occupied with our personal prayers or desires. This life is the only life we have. The universe is a natural phenomenon with no supernatural side, and we can live ethical and fulfilling lives on the basis of reason and humanity. We trust the scientific method, evidence, and reason to discover truths about the universe. We have placed human welfare and happiness at the center of our ethical decision-making. Our reason and imagination is what differentiates us from animals. We have critical thinking, logic, and imagination to create a fair and civilized society and to pursue our happiness. The Greeks believed that citizens are capable of making their ethical decisions based on reason, empathy, and a concern for human beings and other sentient animals without the need for a belief in God, which is optional. The ideal way of living well, therefore, is up to us to lead a life of areti. No English word or phrase adequately captures the exact meaning of arete, The nearest equivalent are excellence and virtue. Arete is the pinnacle of their value system, especially excellence of character. Their motto, pronounced ain aristevin, means ever to excel. It is derived from the 6th book of Homer's Iliad, going back over 10,000 years. One isn't expected to ever reach excellence, but it is in a human being's heroic effort and striving to excel. What they call to be a prokopton, a trainee, is achieved by practicing the 4 cardinal virtues of wisdom, justice, courage, and temperance, and other humanist virtues like these that you will see under the Aristotle section of this book. Thus, logic was developed in ancient Greece as a means of reaching the objective truth rather than relying on faith or dogma. This led to the development of the scientific method that we adhere to today. In the 1st century AD, in the Hellenistic world, which was still dominated by Roman law and Greek culture, Christianity emerged as a sect of Judaism in the Roman Palestine. There is a beautiful passage in the Christian Bible that lies mostly forgotten, one that happened during Christ's interrogation by Pontius Pilate, the Roman prefect in charge of his case. According to John 18:38, at the crucial moment of his verdict, Pilate turned to Jesus and asked the most important question in philosophy. Τι εστίν αλήθεια? What is truth? We are told that the Roman received no answer in return, something that didn't bother many Christians, but could not pass unnoticed by those last of the Greeks who carried the dying flames of their logic-based philosophy into the twilight years of Rome. The logic of the Greeks goes as follows. Is God willing to prevent evil but not able? Then he is not omnipotent. Is he able but not willing? Then he is malevolent. Is he both able and willing? Then where does evil come from? Why does it exist? Most philosophical debate focused on the suggestion that God would want to prevent all evils and therefore cannot coexist with any evils. Of course, there is existing responses to every premise by defenders of theism, arguing that God could exist and allow evil if there were good reasons. Okay, then you try to explain that to the parents of the millions of starving children, or sexually abused children, or victims of war, and anybody else who is suffering needlessly in the most horrific ways. The Greek philosophers would eventually lose the battle, of course, their books burned by the increasing fanaticism of the Christians, who for the next 1,000 years succeeded in keeping Europe in perpetual dusk. Of course, there was a resistance against the rising faith of Jesus Christ, and was launched by scholars and thinkers like Porphyrius, a philosopher of the twilight, when the Roman Empire was fading into the Dark Ages. It was called Kata Christianon, against the Christians, written on the dying breath of Greek culture. Being a philosopher worthy of his name, Porphyry had reasons enough to protest against a system that was moving away from reason, as Christianity was based on acceptance of revealed truths, requiring no further proof, just blind faith. The world that gave birth to Socrates, Plato, and Aristotle faded in the rear-view mirror of history. The death blow to the original Greek world came in 312 AD when Emperor Constantine chose it to be the official religion. That's not to say that today we cannot enjoy the beautiful music of Christianity, the beautiful art and architecture. In fact, I recommend it. Listening to Christian chants and appreciating their magnificence is so important to finding inner peace, as you may also listen to Buddhist chants and Hindu chants and Islamic chants, all praising the Creator. We simply can appreciate the music and its effect on our well-being. With or without believing, the choice is up to you. Christianity as a religion has been influenced by Greek philosophy in many ways. Number 1, logos. The Greek concept of logos, meaning the word or reason, was adopted as Christianity as a way of understanding the divine nature of Jesus Christ as the Word of God made flesh. Number 2, metaphysics. Christianity adopted many of the metaphysical concepts of Greek philosophy, such as the belief in transcendental and eternal God who created the universe. Number 3, ethics. Greek philosophy heavily influenced Christian ethics, particularly through the work of philosophers like Plato, Aristotle. For example, the Christian idea of virtue is based in part on the Greek concept of arete. Number 4, dualism. The Christian concept of the dual nature of man, body and soul, has its roots in Greek philosophy, particularly the works of Plato. Number 5, cosmology. Greek ideas about the nature of the cosmos, such as the idea of a geocentric universe and the 4 elements, earth, air, fire, and water, influenced Christian cosmology for centuries. Now is a good time to repeat your deep affirmation 3 times, your life mission and purpose. No matter what happens in your life, this will become a reality. And now, on the count of 3, you're going to return to full open awareness, returning to your ordinary life. 1, take a deep breath, expanding your shoulders, expanding your arms over your head like you do early in the morning, stretching yourself. 2, take another deep breath and move your body, stretching from side to side. 3, extend to the tips of your toes and the tips of your fingers, stretching your whole body, feeling revitalized. You're feeling confident. You're feeling powerful and certain of yourself. And as you're returning to full awareness, simply stretch your neck from side to side, relaxing your shoulders and opening your eyes if you've had them closed up until now. You look around and you see that the environment hasn't changed, but deep in yourself, you know that you have experienced a deep transformation. The reality may look the same, but you have changed, and that changes everything. That will attract the most positive energy. No matter what happens, you know that you are able to handle things from a place of inner strength and confidence. If you'd like to support my work and show your appreciation, become a member of this channel or purchase one of my products.